It's another edition of Time About the Movies. Today we're taking a look at the films of July 26, 2002. Only two films to look at today, so let's go ahead and jump on into it. We'll start off with one of the biggest new releases of the year, and that is Austin Powers in Goldmember. Of course, the third installment of the Austin Powers series. This time around, Austin Powers has to travel back to 1975 to defeat the aptly named villain Goldmember, played by Mike Myers. It's one of four roles he has in this movie. Of course, he's Dr. Evil and Fat Bastard, and he learns that his father is kidnapped. We see his father, played by Michael Caine, and he gets teamed up with a new partner, played by Beyonce Knowles, as Foxy Cleopatra. And, the second movie definitely felt like a step down compared to the first film. But of all the sequels, really, the more I look back on Austin Powers and Goldmember, the more I really do like this one better than the second movie. I think this one has some really good, fun characters in this movie that you really do get behind. Like Michael Caine as Austin's father. Like, you could definitely tell that these two are related, and it's Michael Caine giving it his all again. Like, usually in movies like this, you need him to really give it his all to really elevate this to another level. Even in a bad movie like On Deadly Ground, that Steven Seagal movie he was in, where Seagal directed it, it's just like, yeah, that's like, it's a bad movie, but Michael Caine kind of elevates it because he is giving 110% in this movie, like, probably more than he should, but he's really great in the movie. Beyonce Knowles is really good in the movie too. Like, it's, there's a reason why she's as good as she makes herself out to be. I mean, she's not only a great musician, but she's a really good actress, man. I've seen her in a lot of movies where she actually gives it her all, and like in this, like you could tell she's having the time of her life playing this role. And comparing to some of the other the musicians that made their acting debuts between 2001 and 2002, she's probably high up there. Like, you could tell she's fully committed to the role, and Mike Myers and her do actually have some nice chemistry together, and I like the way that they work off each other throughout the course of the film. Like, she really does give it her all in this movie. I mean, the jokes, I think, are much funnier in this movie. I think there are a lot of really good moments in here. Like, I like the idea of the parody movie that they're making within the movie. We have Tom Cruise as Austin Powers, Gwyneth Paltrow as his leading lady, then you have Kevin Spacey as Dr. Evil, and Danny DeVito as Mini-Me, and Steven Spielberg's directing it. It just kind of makes sense in this movie, and, for a film series that I felt like kind of was dying out at this point, this was kind of a good way to go out on it. Like, I'm glad they haven't made this fourth film in the series they've kept talking about, because honestly, I think the novelty was wearing off by this point, and this was a nice way to go out on it. I mean, honestly, this was probably the last great thing that I saw Mike Myers in, as far as like that time when he was a comedy superstar. Because everything else he did after this, when he was leading a role, like besides the Shrek movies, like Cat in the Hat, The Love Guru, that was where it really, really stepped down for him in terms of a leading actor. But he's made a nice return to form in some other movies, like Bohemian Rhapsody. He was one of the few things I liked in that movie. Inglourious Basterds, he was pretty good in that. But this, like I said, it's a nice way to go out for something that was kind of, the novelty was already wearing off by this point for a lot of people. So, going out on this note, I think it's a good way to go out. I mean, it's not, like I said, not the best movie overall. I still think the first movie still is the strongest of the three films, but of the two sequels, I probably like this one slightly more than the second one, The Spy Who Shagged Me. But that's just my personal take on it. But I thought it was a fun movie for what it is. Nothing too great, nothing too spectacular, but worthy enough if you like these movies. And I do find a lot of value in these Austin Powers movies. So, Goldmember, I think, was a good enough film for me to recommend. So, let's go ahead and move on to the last movie we have here, and that is Disney's The Country Bears. Yes, 1 year before Pirates of the Caribbean was seen as the first Disney movie based off of a theme park attraction, we had The Country Bears, which some people may say it was Pirates of the Caribbean because this one was not a big success critically or financially, but you really look at it, there is a lot more to it than I think most people would give it credit for. But of course, this is based off the Country Bear Jamboree from Disneyland and Walt Disney World, and it's this movie that's basically a satire of behind the music rock and roll bands, where you have Barry, played by Haley Joel Osment, a young bear raised by a human family in a world where humans and talking bears coexist, attempting to trace his roots, and he meets up with the Country Bears, a long since broken up band, a parody of bands like the Eagles, and Barry helps the Country Bears reunite for one final concert while searching for who he truly is. So, really, in a way, it's kind of reminiscent to what the Muppets movie, the 2011 film, kind of would go like. I mean, it's literally almost verbatim the same kind of movie, except this time it's just the Country Bears in the place of the Muppets. But yeah, this movie actually I think is a lot more clever than people give it credit for. It's a movie that really, like, it's a movie that is very much satirizing itself. It's a film that really is like, they know what they're talking about here in terms of what they're trying to do here. They know it's stupid, they know it's ridiculous, but they're still having a ton of fun making the film. And I think it helps because the director is Peter Hastings, who's a guy that, he did the stuff for One Saturday Morning, but most notably, he worked on shows like Tiny Toon Adventures and Animaniacs back in the early 90s. In fact, the voice of Wacko Warner, Jess Harnell, has a cameo in this movie. It's a one-line cameo, but man, like I said, but I've said this so many times in the last couple of weeks, but, if you have, the way that you're able to say, is like, if you could say a line one way and make it funny, it works. And his one line in the movie where he's just like, all he has to do is say, "Bears rock," and he just goes like, "Woo, Bears rock!" Like he's so in it. It's just like, more power to you, man. That's just one of those things. It's just like, that's one of those elements that really keeps this movie on a level where I could say, like, this is a lot of fun. And Christopher Walken playing the bad guy in this, I mean, talk about a pitch-perfect role. And you want to talk about over-the-top performance, he takes the cake in this movie, Country Bear Hall has been crushed. Like, at the end of the movie, it's just like, this is not over! Bears! Like, again, line readings. Get a good actor to make these lines funny, and it's just, you can make the stupidest lines even funnier than they have any right to be. Story-wise, yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever. Like, the whole movie completely knows that none of this makes real sense, honestly. It's just like, we're here to just have a good time. And you know what? It's a good time. It is a really good, fun time. Like, this is what I think of a movie like, there was a movie back in the 90s called Bingo, which I think was trying to be kind of similar to this, except a little bit more adult. I feel like it's this concept done the right way. I mean, it's that done the right way, while also kind of building what would eventually become of the Muppets, which, like I said, these two movies are very, very similar in terms of their plot, but it's still a fun movie, man. Like, I really enjoyed this one more than I think anybody would have ever thought it was. We're going to have a lot of these movies this year where you think it's going to be really, really terrible, but if you go into it with the right mindset, you could actually have a really, really good time with it. I mean, Crocodile Hunter Collision Course is another example of that, where we just talked about it a couple weeks ago, where it's a movie that seems like it's dead on arrival, and yet it creates something that's really, really enjoyable. I'm not going to say it's a classic by any means necessary, but it is still a fun movie, and this is a very fun, over-the-top, cheesy movie. Like, I think the people who made the film knew exactly what they were doing. They probably knew that it was probably going to not work the way they wanted it to, but at the same time, it ended up paying off in the long run. I think they did a pretty good job of handling this, and like I said, if you go into it with the right note, knowing it's a corny, cheesy, over-the-top movie, I think you could have a great time with this film. I think it's a really fun movie. Definitely kind of an underrated gem of a film. I highly recommend it. The Country Bears. Definitely give it a chance. I think you might be pleasantly surprised by it. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and the next time we meet, we will take a look at 4 movies, including M. Night Shyamalan's latest film, Signs, which, some people say that The Village was the beginning of his downfall. I think this film was the beginning of his downfall. I'll explain in that one, and we'll get to that one, and we'll also talk about The Master of Disguise, a movie that probably should be on the same level as Crocodile Hunter Collision Course and The Country Bears, but yeah, this is exactly what you think it's going to be, but we'll talk about that one. We will also talk about Martin Lawrence Live, Run Tell Dat, and we also have Steven Soderbergh's first of 2 movies released in 2002, Full Frontal. So we'll take a look at 4 films on the next episode, but until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the plays on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.